Heliodorus, a real Greek speaker versus modern scholars. Part 2. Heliodorus wrote a novel entitled The Ethiopica, probably in the 3rd or 4th century. He used normal Greek words in his writing. In section 724 or 726, depending on who presents it, a particular word is found that is also found in the Bible. Let's dive into why that's important. Your pastor and your favorite theologians have told you that God predestines some people for salvation. By this, they mean God picked them before time eternal, using an unexplained decree mechanism or some other method unstated in the Bible. They prove this by pointing to a Greek word you don't know. Of course they do. That way you can't double check them. They claim to be experts, and well, you work for a living, and you don't have time to learn Greek and read old Greek literature to see what the word really means. They will say there's a Greek word, prorizo, and it proves their point that God determined all things ahead of time, especially salvation. They will start with predestined, an English word that you've already had defined by the society you live in. Then they will say it came from the Latin predestinare, which is a verb, and predestinatio, a noun. And so they backwards define the Greek word by what the Latin and the English mean. God, before time, decided who is saved, all crammed into one word. One word? One word means all that? Here's some help for you. Here's that same Greek word. It's used in a normal way, and it would be the way the writers of the New Testament letters would understand it. And maybe even more important, it's how the readers of those letters would understand it. If prorizo inherently means eternal divine decree that guarantees salvation, it should carry that meaning in ordinary Greek also. Here is an ordinary Greek use. I'll give you the English translations first, and you can try to find the word that means God, before time, picked some for salvation. Let's set the scene. In an action romance story from around the 3rd or 4th centuries, a provincial ruler, Arsace, has decided two people will get married. Speaking to a young man, she says, "As for your sister, I have betrothed her to Archimedes, who is chief of my household, both for her mother's sake and his own goodwill towards us, so long delaying the marriage as to fix a day and provide such things as are needful for a sumptuous feast." Or, in another translation, "I will defer the nuptials only till a day is fixed, and preparation made for due splendor in their celebration." Did you notice God anywhere? Did she mention salvation? How about before time eternal? Maybe you can find something like a guaranteed ending? When you read Heliodorus in this scene, nothing mystical is happening. Arsace is basically doing what any person or any given wedding planner does when they're arranging a wedding. She's waiting for everything to be arranged. She wants time to choose the date and get the banquet details ready. Did you find the word? The translators rendered it as fix or fixed. It's a normal word meaning to set or pick, and it's applied to a date on the calendar. The Greek phrase that matters is imerin prorise. That is, to set a day in advance. Imerin is a day, and prorise is the infinitive of prorizo. To decide ahead of time, to appoint, to set. In plain English, it is the same thing you would say if you told someone, "We will do it, but first we need to pick a date." This is normal Greek that any reader in the 1st through 4th centuries would understand without blinking. The object of the verb is a day. The context is wedding logistics. The sentence even pairs it with the next step: get the feast arrangements ready. So the reader is not being invited to think about fate or an unbreakable decree. They're being told very simply, she delayed it long enough to set the date and get the banquet ready. So, if someone wants to claim that prorizo automatically means a guaranteed outcome, or salvation, or necessarily refers to God, Heliodorus is an easy reality check. Here, it just means setting a date. If people want to get a deterministic theology out of the Bible, they need to use other words to do it. The words God and salvation can be found in the Bible, but prorizo and thus predestined does not mean either one.